Hi everyone, I am Aaron Lay and you are listening to Dragonfly's The Dividend Investor, the podcast of the most profitable hour of the day. So this is the podcast where we help you build the dream life that you want, one dividend payout at a time. And so in each episode, we are going to break down stories, strategies, and habits that will help you build a future of passive income. So whether nagsisimula ka pa lang or you are already a seasoned investor, this podcast will show you how to let your money work for you over time. Now for today, actually this podcast, medyo naiiba siya eh. Because for this podcast, we are talking more about the markets. So what has been happening to the markets recently? To top it off, like one of this is Keeper. So si Keeper kasi he's going to acquire or move into the premium segment of the market, of the liquor market. Another company that's going after the premium market is SM. So later on, we'll talk more about that. We'll also talk about how there's an overhang with the Trump's trade war that can actually affect our local stock market. So may bearing ba yun or wala? And I think this is pretty hot or like a pretty hot topic. So actually si Plus pababa siya ng pababa eh. Currently right now it's at around 17 pesos, 18 pesos per share. So is it cheap enough to be considered as a dividend player stock? And lastly, we're going to talk about if Globe and PLDT is cheap enough to buy. So hanggang saan ba bago pwede natin sila saluhin or bilhin? So to answer those questions, we have a special guest here today. So no other than our research analyst here at Dragonfly, Mr. Jared Tin. So Jared, please say hi to our audience.
Hi guys, happy to be here.
Jared, kumusta ka today? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great actually.
Bakit great? I mean, the weather outside, if you ask me, it's quite gloomy. It's been raining, and the rain is pretty erratic. Sometimes it rains, sometimes the sun is shining. So why are you happy today, Jared?
Well, it's quite cold actually, so when you're at home, it feels nice to sleep. Yeah,
So masarap tulog mo recently.
yeah, the quality has been really good.
Yeah, that's an advantage if dividend investor ka. So let's all take notes, right? So I want to jump straight into it. Pag-usapan natin what's been happening to our local stock market. Our local stock market, medyo pababa siya over the last 2 weeks eh. So kumusta ba yung mga stocks natin, especially the dividend-paying stocks that we like? So what are the top movers and the biggest losers of the last 2 weeks?
So if we look within the D15 index, the top gainers over the past 2 weeks are actually ICT and AP. ICT is up around 6%, while AP is up around 3%.
How come ICT and AP are up this big? First, ICT muna.
So ICT, I think the markets have really moved on past Trump's tariffs. So initially, like during Liberation Day, right, you saw ICT drop a lot because investors were worried that when you have tariffs, it will affect global trade and it will affect the port terminals, right, container terminals. But that really isn't the case with ICT because it has ports all over the world. So even if there are tariffs, ICT's diversification of ports really help offset that weakness in trade if ever there is.
So there was an initial panic that actually drove ICT prices down, right? Actually, I remember that time, and then at the very lows, actually Razon bought, right? Razon
Yes,
bought a
he
lot.
bought back his shares
Yeah, he bought back his shares.
at
Now
the
it's trading at
lows.
all-time highs already.
Yes.
Near, di ba all-time highs na, right?
Yeah, over all-time highs.
So with that question or with that statement in mind, would you say that it's okay for our audience to chase ICT or where they can actually buy ICT?
Actually, we really wanted to add to our ICT position in the strategic growth portfolio at the breakout of 427, but it really happened so fast, so we weren't able to do that. But I feel you could maybe try to buy the retest of the 427 support level.
I see. What about our second best mover of our dividend paying stocks, Aboitiz Power? So why do you think Aboitiz Power moved this much over the last 2 weeks?
So for AP, it's really about funds moving ahead of the upcoming PSEI rebalancing. So there are rule changes being proposed for the rebalancing where companies at 15% public float will be eligible to be included in the index. Right now, AP has a public float of around 19%. So if that changes were to be approved, AP would be added back into the index.
Okay, sorry, Jared, for our audience right now, no, what is the significance of a stock, or like, for example, this case, AP, the dividend-paying stock, being included in the index? Like, ano yung ibig sabihin niya? Can it cause the AP to go up?
So in the short term, yes, because remember there are a lot of index tracking funds where they basically follow the composition of the PSEI. So when stocks are added to the index tracking funds and maybe pension funds or funds that try to benchmark the PSEI, they have to buy AP to mimic the market portfolio.
I see. And you also mentioned about how the factor or criteria for AP to come back in is if they lower the requirement of from 20% public vote now to 15%. Ibig sabihin, before, if dapat 20% publicly owned yung company, now 15% publicly owned, pwede na siyang mapunta sa index.
Yes.
Right. Actually, moving now to the top losers, Gerald. So ano ba yung mga worst performer for the last 2 weeks?
So for the last 2 weeks, it was really the banks. So China Bank, it dropped 7%, while BPI dropped around 6%. So let's first talk about China Bank. It's actually the opposite of AP. Investors are basically speculating that China Bank would be removed from the PSEI due to another proposed rule change, which is the liquidity requirement. So under
What do
the
you mean by liquidity requirement, Jared?
Okay, so under the new rebalancing rules being proposed, index members must trade at the 25th percentile of most actively traded. So right now, I think China Bank is trading at around 27th percentile, so it's sort of missing the mark.
So dapat, para magstay siya sa index, kailangan mataas yung volume niya or very, very high yung activity sa stock na yun. Like people have to be actually buying and selling that stock. All right, but what about our next loser or like the next biggest loser for the past 2 weeks?
It's BPI. So there's really been a correction in bank stocks. I think this is mostly because of the BSP's aggressive rate cut cycle, where for the remainder of the year, the BSP is projecting 2 more rate cuts. And remember, when you cut rates, the interest on loans goes down. So sometimes it could lower your net interest margin, right? And I think that's what they're fearing with the bank stocks. But that's really not the case with BPI because they reported earnings yesterday and we saw that their net interest margin actually increased. It's now at around 4.58%. So it's shrugging off the effects of rate cuts.
So throw me a rope here, Jared. When you say na pag mas mataas yung interest rates, ibig sabihin the banks can loan their money to, for example, to another business for like 3%. But now,
Yes.
since the interest rates are lower, they can only now loan it out at 2% na lang.
Yes.
So that's why their income or their earnings from that is getting lower. That's the fear, right?
Yes.
But would you say na it's actually a good opportunity to look for the best banks out there? Kasi parang narinig ko before, when you have a market-driven sell-off, like for example, whole industry, right, here, banking sector, isn't it a good chance to like be a stock picker and check sino ba dito yung best bank? Tapos bilhin mo siya habang naka-sale din siya.
Yeah, so actually, this is, for me, I would think that this is an opportunistic dip in the banking sector. So why is that? Because you have to look individually into the stocks, right? If the market is fearing that there would be net interest margin compression, you look into the stocks individually, which of them are maintaining or even increasing their net interest margin, right? So those are the banks that should perform better.
I see. Okay, so Jared, actually about CBC and BPI, at what prices do you think are attractive enough to actually catch them?
For BPI, I think current prices are good to buy. I think around 123. That's a great bargain price already.
Nasa 123 na ngayon, I
Yeah,
think.
so I think current prices you can buy already.
What about for CBC?
So for me, I think China Bank is still a bit expensive. I personally want it to dip to around the 53 level. That's its next support.
I see. So actually now moving on, as I mentioned, the whole local market for the past 2 weeks have been declining, right? Do we see any difference between the index names versus the dividend-paying stocks that we like? What about our dividend-paying stocks? How did they perform? Like did they perform relatively better sa index names na to?
For the past 2 weeks, the PSEI declined by around 2%. But when we look at the D15, 11 out of 15 of the names actually performed better than the PSEI. And excluding 4, which are Manila Water, Keeper, BPI, and China Bank. So here you can really see that there is relative strength with these dividend growth stocks. So you might ask, why is that so? For me, it's really because of a dividend floor effect. So when these dividend growth stocks decline, when they dip, it reaches a certain level where investors are like, okay, it's hitting a yield that I really like. And even if it's not that high, when you consider the dividend growth you'll get next year and the years to follow, it's already at an attractive yield, right? So they would start to position in already. That's why it's really not as sensitive to market drawdowns.
Right. So you mentioned about dividend growth, right? So for example, even if mababa na nasa mga 4% lang yung dividend yield niya, but if it's growing at a 20% per year, then next year your dividend yield is around 4.8% already.
Yeah, closer
correct?
to 5%. No?
Yeah. And actually, it's what's nice about it then, as you said, it's a win-win situation, di ba? If it goes down, hindi parang temporary naka-sale, di ba?
Yes.
You have the chance to buy at lower prices.
Yep, and another good point here is that you should realize that higher dividend growth is what sustains higher stock prices. Because if price stays flat but dividends are growing, your yield will increase also
Yeah, so sooner or later, the price should catch up
to the yield.
to the yield.
Yes.
Para sabay sila, di ba? Yeah, speaking of sales, Jared, and how prices have been falling recently, would you say na it's because of the overhang of Trump's trade war? Because I've been hearing sa news that Trump's trade war, yung pag-implement niya ng 20% tax sa pag-import natin sa US, it's now moved to, I think, August 1, I believe.
Yeah.
Would you think that the investors are pricing this in? Natatakot sila, that's why they're selling off their stocks right now in anticipation of the August 1 implementation. Meron ba siyang effect, tingin mo, sa local stock market natin and sa dividend stocks that we like?
So to put this into perspective, previously it was 17%, but I think a few days ago they increased it to 20%, and it will be effective on August 1, which is next month, right? When we dig deeper, if you measure Philippine exports to the US as a percentage of Philippine GDP, it's just around 4.5%, which is not that much, to be honest. Well, the stocks that will really be hurt are mostly the firms that export a lot to the US, which in the PSE, not really as much, right?
Yeah, which are more on the private companies, diba? Publicly
Yeah.
listed companies, not so much.
Exactly.
So you're saying that we are not as export dependent compared to, for example, Taiwan, Indonesia, or our other neighbors, Southeast Asia,
In
correct?
fact, the Philippines is in a trade deficit, so it imports more than it exports.
I see. Yeah, and so you mentioned that our local stock market are pretty insulated from this catalyst. And I would just like to add na since insulated na nga yung buong market, I think the dividend-paying stock should be holding relatively better then, di ba?
Yes.
Because they have the dividend yield to support the stock price. And actually, you mentioned to me, Jared, before, na there was also this thing now, once a catalyst gets mentioned more and more, parang the effect of it gets less eh. Hindi na siya as effective. Is it also true in this case?
Yes, so if you remember during the first tariff implementation, what you call Liberation Day, you saw the PSCI drop to around 5,800. Then after that, there were a lot of retaliation, right? If you notice, Trump really keeps on changing his mind, right? Initially, we were at 10% tariff, then now 17, now 20, right? And if you notice, we never retested the 5,800 lows in the PSCI because it's more of the market's telling you, we've seen this before, right? It's nothing new, and what would really cause the market to panic again is something unexpected, right? And lately, tariff news has been normal already.
And the way I visualize this happening then is, alam mo, if you have a ball, and then di ba a ball bounces, right? So once that first catalyst, random catalyst gets hit, tapos di talaga alam ng lahat, it's gonna bounce so high. But then every time it bounces, the bounce gets smaller and smaller, right?
Yes.
So hanggang sa hindi na siya nag-bounce. So that's how I visualize it as well. Except na lang siguro if Trump does something crazy, di ba, Jared, na
Yeah.
never expected by anyone, tapos it can rattle the market, or the trade war can still rattle the markets if meron siyang bagong sabihin. Okay, moving on, Jared, let's get our audience up to speed. So ano ba yung mga news na nangyari locally? So first things first, actually SM is now trying to target the affluent market, or yung mga high-end, kumbaga. So I think they're launching what they call as the Signature Series. So basically, they're selling, if I'm not mistaken, it's a horizontal expansion. So they're going to build communities or develop villages and communities. No? What struck me was that each and every lot, the minimum is around 700 square meters. And they're going to sell it at above, I think, at a minimum, 100 million pataas
Wow.
per lot. So that's sobrang mahal, di ba?
Yeah.
So do you think this can spill over sa earnings ng SM? And how soon could it spill sa earnings nila?
I think their first location will be in Susana Heights, which is in Muntinlupa. I think this is really good move by SM Prime because I think they're usually targeting the middle income. So this is really a first of its kind, and they're trying to diversify their target market. In terms of revenue impact, I think they said that late this year would be the pre-selling already, while you can expect revenues around mid next year for these developments.
Would you say that baka maging saturated na rin? Kasi that's the trend that I'm seeing. Like, these property developers are targeting more and more to the affluent segment. Kasi these affluent segment, they're not price sensitive eh. Ibig sabihin nun, whatever price you tell them to buy, they're just going to buy it eh. Tingin mo ba congested na yung market sa affluent market, Jared, or sa premium market?
For me, not yet. What's really congested and what's causing maybe like the condo oversupply is the middle income condos, right? The middle income residential segment. But for the upper class segment, right? For me, it's not yet saturated. If they can provide better services and like different locations, right? Spread it out across Metro Manila or even key cities, I think there will still be strong demand for those.
Now that I think about it, do you think there's a reason why they keep on expanding south? Like, why not north kaya?
I think there's more growth area there and it's not yet as urbanized, I would say, right? If there's a lot of competition there, you would want to move to a place where wala pa masyadong competition, right? So I think that's the strategy.
And maybe there are like bigger cuts of land talaga south, no?
Yes, or maybe it's cheaper to build there.
Okay, Jared, actually, di ba, for us, we really like REITs here at Dragonfly and like how good of a dividend-paying stocks they are. Do you think there's a possibility of SM doing REITs as well?
This has been a long-standing plan, and really SM has kept on deferring this REIT listing. And I think they even said that they don't really need the cash at this point, so they don't need to raise funds through REIT listing. So I think that's where it's at. And for me, if I were SM, I wouldn't want to make it into a REIT because I want the full income contribution going to like SM Prime, right, in SM. So I don't think a REIT would be that much of a focus or priority.
Actually, Jared, another company that's targeting the affluent segment for the premium market is Keeper. So Keeper Holdings is a liquor company, right?
Yes.
And they acquired 50% of Servia. So si Servia is a high-end local spirit. So basically, it's into alcohol as well. So do you think this move is bullish for Keeper?
So I think yes, it is. I think Keeper's target market right now is more of the pangmasang market, right? The middle income, right? So I think it's good because Keeper is shifting their target market and product mix. Let's say there's a downturn or recession in the economy, they can bawi their revenues through the higher end segment.
Yeah, because parang yun talaga yung nagiging trend eh. We see these companies targeting the affluent market talaga. Actually, on top of that, Gerald, I think the move of targeting or acquiring Servia is actually nice as well because they mentioned that this is the key in international expansion. Before kasi they're more of an importer, right, of products than distributing it here locally. But now they have the chance to export Servia into like everywhere all around the world, correct?
Yes. And another thing that's worth noting about Keeper is its synergies with Pure Gold, right? And also Costco Capital, right? Which also owns SNR. Imagine you can place those liquor products in your retail stores, right? In your Pure Golds and your SNRs. So that's really the synergy behind that.
In terms of network effect, ang dami niyang pwedeng ibentahan na location
Yes.
basically.
And Pure Gold and SNR stores are still expanding up to today, right?
Okay, another local news that happened is BPI. So si BPI has actually reported their earnings, right?
Yes.
So could you tell more about the earnings of BPI, Jared? Obviously, we like BPI as a dividend-paying stock. It's also included in the D15, right?
BPI posted very strong earnings. It's up 7.8% year on year for the first half of 2025, and it's at 33 billion pesos.
And that earnings actually came out just a few days ago. And so BPI already declined, diba? And now we actually are kind of seeing bounce a little bit, probably because of the good earnings report as well.
Yes, prices already reacting to it.
You think this is a good buy, Jared? What's our buy below price ba for BPI?
It's at 123 where price is at right now.
Now it's at around 122, I believe.
Yes, so for me, it's a good buy right now.
Yeah, and you mentioned the interest rates, even though the interest rates are going down, it actually performed relatively well, right?
Yeah, their net interest margins are still increasing, and that's a result of them shifting their loan portfolio more towards consumer loans, which are higher yielding.
So, ibig sabihin, if like the interest rates are falling, it's up to the bank on how they adapt to it. Like if they want to maybe like loan more to the consumer side para mas higher interest rates, ganun ba siya?
When interest rates go down, sometimes net interest margin goes down, right? So what banks would do is they shift their portfolio. They would target more of the consumer loans since consumer loans are known to be a bit riskier, right? So that's why the interest rates on those are a bit higher versus corporate loans which are more stable and it's being offered to established companies.
When you say consumer loans, Jared, are you talking about the credit cards?
Yes, so consumer loans can be credit cards, home loan, auto loan.
Kasama din ba dyan yung mga online lending apps that I see online?
Yes, those are part.
And kapag corporate loans naman, these are the loans from the businesses, correct?
Yes.
Okay, aside from BPI, what other stocks, which other banks do you think are viable right now?
I'm really waiting for China Bank to fall lower because I think it just broke below its support right now. And I'm really waiting for after the PSEI rebalancing. If ever it gets taken out, I think it's a buying opportunity closer to 53.
Because you mentioned once it gets taken out, these institutions are forced to sell their holding. So para pwede mong saluhin yung binenta nila.
Yes, there
in
will
that
be
sense.
irrational selling because funds are required to sell that stock that's being taken out of the index.
All right, now that we're done with banks, Jared, let's move now to real estate. No? Obviously, we really love REITs here at Dragonfly. And so the first one is CREIT. I mean, notably, like CREIT has been going so much already for the past few weeks or past few months. Diba? All-time high nga, it's hard to buy CREIT.
It's the
Kasi
strongest REIT in the
hindi siya
market.
bumababa. Like once it pulls back, sobrang konti lang, then it resumes goes a lot higher,
Yeah,
right?
mga 1 to 3% down din, wala na. Up again.
Yeah. So, paano yung places CREIT, Jared? Like, our audience just chased and peso cost average na lang?
So for me, it really depends what yield you want. So right now, C-REIT's at around 5.5% yield. Generally, 6% is the more ideal yield to buy C-REIT. But if you're okay with 5.5%, then you can still buy at current prices because what the market is doing is pricing in its future infusions. Like this year, it's going to acquire land to host 250 megawatts of solar power, right? So market's already pricing that in, and next year, C-REIT will infuse not land, okay? It's gonna infuse the solar panels itself. So think of it as you're leasing out equipment. Remember, real estate is not just land. It can also be other properties like equipment, like TV set, microphones, right? You can lease those out. In this case, it's leasing out the solar panels itself.
Ooh, that's a nice, actually, that's a nice take. But then I have an interesting question because if you lease out land, mas long-term yan eh.
Yes.
But if you're leasing out equipment, baka medyo mas short-term nature yan, don't you think? Like for example, in reality, like these solar panels, how long can they realistically last ba? So would that affect like the quality of the REIT for CREIT?
Not at all, because remember, the solar panels are also owned by Citicorp themselves, right? It's owned by CREC, so it's really not an issue at all. And I think CREIT really maintains the solar panels well.
Actually, that's a nice take, Jared, right? And they're actually also affiliated with Megawide. How do you see the synergy between Megawide helping CREIT?
Because Megawide is a construction company, it essentially helps CREC and CREIT build stuff, right? So developing the land, that's no problem to them because they build buildings, right? All the airports. So Megawide has that track record of knowing how to construct and
maintenance na rin, I guess,
yeah,
right?
so building solar plants is like second nature because of that synergy with Megawide.
Actually, moving on, Jared, to our next REIT. Etong REIT na to, sobrang lakas din. I'm talking about RCR. And I've been hearing recently na, or parati ko naririnig na, as you mentioned, infuse ng properties, right? And when you say nag-infuse sila ng property, the parent company, for example, in this case is Robinson's Land, they're giving away malls in exchange for shares of RCR. So
Yes.
nag-swap sila. So ang daming infusions na nangyayari. Would you say na this is bullish for RCR? And like, let's talk about the recent infusions that Robinson's Land and RCR did.
RCR, it recently infused 9 malls. So that's around 30 billion pesos worth. And that actually puts RCR as the biggest REIT in the Philippines, bigger than a REIT. So this actually boosts the chance of RCR entering the PSCI maybe next rebalancing or next year. When you look at RCR, it's been rallying a lot. I think today it closed at around 7.8.
Almost 8 already.
Yeah, it's almost near my target of 7.91 actually. I think as investors, you have to consider, a lot of people are asking, should you chase it? My question is really, are you okay with the yield at this point, right? Which is sub 5% na lang. You're not getting 6% anymore. So if you're okay with that, then you can sort of buy per in and just hold long term. So remember that RCRs, it can still double its portfolio of properties from its current 150 billion pesos worth, right? So that's how much leasing assets our RLC still has. For me, I would really buy RCR on any pullback na lang. So right, I said buy below price 6.8. Today's breakout, I don't think it's gonna reach there anymore. So I might have to revise the buy below price soon.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you in general. I don't think REITs are something that you should chase, diba, as they climb higher and higher. So speaking of that, if we're not chasing RCR, is there any REIT that you like right now at current price?
For me, the best REIT right now would be RCR. But given that
Masyado na mataas eh. Tapos the
Yeah.
dividend yield is around 5%, less than 5%.
Given
diba?
that RCR has gone up, also C-REIT, right? For me, I'm placing my bets on PhilREIT for the remainder of the year.
But what about PhilREIT do you like ba, Jared? PhilREIT is what? PhilInvest REIT, diba?
Yes.
So what about PhilInvest REIT do you like?
I really like that. Still has a good yield, so around 7.5% yield right now. It's at the start of its dividend growth cycle. So remember, PhilInvest was all office. That's why once oversupply of the office spaces happened, it really tumbled. Combine that with increasing interest rates during 2001 onwards, right? So now that we're in a rate cut regime, PhilREIT has recently infused their Festival Mall, which is basically their crown jewel mall in Alabang, right?
Yeah, so what you're saying is before, masyado siya concentrated to office spaces
Yes.
lang. Now, it's infusing malls to its asset mix already for
Yes.
PhilREIT. That's
Around
why,
1/3 of the portfolio is now Festival Mall.
so mas nagiging all-around na siya, better for diversification, and mas secure na siya over the long term.
Yes. And their dividend accrual, right? It will incur revenues from Festival Mall starting the second quarter, which is the next dividend payment. So we can expect the next dividend payment to be higher. And like what we always say, increasing dividends or dividend growth is what stimulates higher stock prices.
And actually, the dividend yield right now is medyo mataas na for PhilREIT.
Yes,
I believe
compared to
it's
the
at-
rest of the REITs.
Yeah, I believe it's at around 8%, right?
7.5, around there.
7.5. Okay, so now moving on to utilities, Gerald. Actually, there's a new stock coming to town. So there's Maynilad that's going to IPO soon, right?
Yes.
What do we think about Maynilad? Is it something that our audience could buy right away? Because if I'm not mistaken, it could be a potential dividend-paying stock, correct? Parang Manila Water eh.
I'm also very excited for my Nilad, and it's really a question of what's the IPO price and what's the dividend yield. If the dividend yield is close to 6%, I think that you can already buy it at IPO price because remember, my Nilad has the same growth catalyst as Manila Water, which is the increase in water rates until 2027. So right now it's still 2025. So you still have around 2 more years of increasing water rates, which will help earnings grow and in turn dividends. It's really about that. If the IPO price is a bit high and the dividend yield is mga 5 or 4% lang, for me, I would not buy it because I don't have enough dividend safety or dividend buffer. But if the dividend yield is like 6%, baka pwede na, right? Because if it's at 6%, do you see Maynila going down to 7%, 8% yield, even if earnings are projected to go higher with the increase in water rates? Parang very unlikely na, di ba? So closer to 6%, I would buy the IPO already.
Yeah, so what you're looking for right now is two factors, right? The price and dividend yield, which goes hand in hand naman. I mean, like if it lists at a higher price, then your yield or dividend yield becomes smaller, di ba?
Yes.
The inverse is also true. Pag mababa naman yung list ng IPO, mataas yung dividend yield mo. So it's about a matter of waiting for the IPO price.
Yes.
Question on my head lang, Jared, is that if I'm not mistaken, Maynilad and Manila Water have similarities when it comes to their assets, how much money they're making, right?
Yes.
So if, for example, they're paying around the same percent when it comes to dividend yield, like which one do I go for? Like, do I go for Manila Water or kay Maynilad ba ako?
For me, it's a question of which management do you like more? Do you like MVP more, Pangilinan, or do you like the leadership of Razon? So, if let's say you're pantay talaga, Maynilad and Manila Water, for me, I'd give a slight edge to
To Razon.
Manila Water. Yeah. Because of the track record, right? If you look at the businesses Razon handles like ICT, Apex Mining, right? They really took off once he started being the management, right? Running the show, right? Except for, I guess, Bloom, which is sort of bad luck lang talaga na the Pogos left and now we have this crackdown on online gambling.
To be fair, for Bloom naman kasi, it was more of like an industry, no? It's not a matter of
Yes.
management anymore.
Regulatory na yun.
Regulatory na yun. So like there's only so much that they could do or the management
Yes.
can do about it.
Exactly.
Speaking of utilities, Jared, so one utility play that we like as well is Meralco. And I mean, I've been noticing that Meralco has been steady for the past 2 weeks. Like, almost the other stocks, medyo bumababa sila, di ba? But Meralco super steady. So, why do you think Meralco is so steady right now?
So Meralco is very steady because everyone uses electricity, right? So Meralco is a monopoly, and it's the monopoly in power distribution. When I talk about power distribution, it means from the grid, right? The voltage is high. That electricity cannot be used in your home, right? Because what will happen is everything will short circuit, it will explode, right? So what Meralco does is from the high voltage electricity through the lines, cables, it distributes the power to your home so for safe electricity use. So that's what Meralco does. And since it's a monopoly and I don't think electricity demand is going down anytime soon, in fact, we need it even more, right? So that's why Meralco has been such an outlier.
Yeah, and I mean, if you notice the US markets, these power companies, they're also doing really well.
And another thing is Meralco's not just a monopoly in power distribution, but it's also starting to gain traction in power generation. So it's generating the electricity na rin, not just distributing it. So it's through MGen, right? MGen and its renewable energy arm, MGreen, right? Which runs the Terra Solar project, right, in Nueva Ecija. So very exciting times for Meralco.
Actually, speaking of M Green, right? I've been hearing that M Green, ano ba yung play sa kanya to get it public? Is it more of an IPO or like a backdoor play? Which do you think makes the most sense to you right now?
You have two ways. It's either they make a separate IPO in the market or they backdoor list it or infuse it.
Ano ibig sabihin ng backdoor listing, by the way?
So you have existing company in the PSE and you have another entity. You want the other entity to be merged into that listed company so that the company basically becomes the other company listed, right? So parang may merger or consolidation into one entity.
Okay, so moving on to actually one of the hottest topics right now. And the hottest stocks actually, Jared. So I'm talking about DigiPlus. So DigiPlus before, this is the darling stock of the stock market, diba? I believe it reached about 60 pesos, right?
63.
63 pesos. Tapos ngayon, to the low of this day, nasa mga 13.6 pesos.
Yes.
Right now, it's trading at around 18 pesos per share. Sobrang baba kasi sobrang laki ng binaba ni DigiPlus.
Yes.
And it's actually making a lot of money. And it's paying dividends. So, do you think, my question is, do you think possible ito maging dividend paying or maging dividend play for Dragonfly?
if you have a long time horizon, I think this is probably a once in a lifetime opportunity to catch it while everyone is in panic and fear, right? My sense is that a total ban on online gaming is very improbable,
Improbable.
right? Very hard to pull off because remember, I think last year online gambling contributed around 154 billion pesos, right? And it was around 40% of PAGCOR revenues, with 60% being land-based casinos. And I think in the first quarter of 2025, it's now 60% online, 40% land-based. So you can just imagine how much tax revenues that would be for the government.
And they
And
can't simply remove these taxes kasi saan nila kukunin yun, di ba? They have to replace it with something
yes.
else.
And remember last year, the president did a bold move of banning the POGOs. So he already hit the gaming revenues from the land-based casinos, right? Because the POGOs were comprising most of the VIP gamblers in the land-based casinos. So if you already remove that, then this year you're gonna remove the online gambling. It's very hard to recover those lost tax revenues.
And furthermore, and if you ban all these legal and complying digital gaming companies kasi, you're gonna force the market to move underground,
Yes,
right?
illegal.
Sa mga illegal gambling apps.
Yes.
Which, number one, wala nang nakuhang taxes yung government. And number two, it's just going to stay the same, right?
Yes.
So it's actually more probable that the government allows DigiPlus to continue, but then with tighter regulations.
Yes.
Am I right with that, Charo?
Yes, I think that's the best way to go about it.
But to be sure, actually, kasi diba there's the SONA coming up then, no?
Yes.
So would you say that it's better to wait for the SONA or what's the play here before they act?
So right now, of course, DG Plus shares are in a free fall. And of course, fortune favors the brave, right? So if you're really, if you really have the conviction that it's impossible to ban completely online gambling, then I think now is a perfect time to enter for the long term, I would say. But if you really don't want to deal with the regulatory risk, right, then the safest way would be to wait after the SONA to know the president's tone on online gambling. If he will make it a priority bill, right? If total ban is on the table or it's just restrictions, right? So once you have that clarity, I think that's the best time to, that's the better time to position yourself in plus, if ever there's an opportunity.
It's just a matter of at what price would you buy it na lang talaga, right?
Yes.
So my next question, Jared, is, again, if it becomes cheap enough, would you consider it as a dividend play? Kasi I remember that our checklist to become a dividend play sa Dragonfly, you have to hit 3 check boxes. Eh.
Yes.
Number 1 is dividend safety. Number 2, dividend growth. And number 3 is what's the return. Obviously, the growth is there, but then yung dividend safety is a bit of a question mark for me. Kasi what if like kalaban mo dito is government regulations, eh, right?
Yes.
It could really, parang night or day, biglang pwede kang nilang maka-affect dun sa business mo.
Yes.
So, with that question in mind, do you think that it's still a dividend play?
For me, yes, at current levels, because based on the chart, it's clear that the market is not pricing in restrictions. I think it's pricing in a total ban, right? Because you wouldn't normally see plus go flooring, hit flooring prices twice in a row, right? So for me, that's not just restriction anymore. The market is really pricing in the worst possible outcome. And yes, DG Plus will be challenged in the upcoming years because of regulation and I think higher percentage tax that the government wants to take from gambling revenues. But I think since right now the current price reflects total ban, I think it's still a good dividend play right now. So dividends might dip a bit, but I think given the yield, it's already a justifiable entry if ever.
Okay, but for our audience who are considering this as a dividend play na rin, just as like you said, what could they do kaya? Since etong stock na to medyo malikot talaga and it's volatile, di ba? Eh, syempre, as dividend investors, we want that quality sleep, di ba?
Yes.
8 hours of sleep pa rin.
Yes.
So what could they do?
So, given that it's very, very volatile the past few days, what you can do is limit your exposure through position sizing. So, maybe max 10% of your portfolio, if not, baka 5% nga lang eh. So that even if it whipsaws up and down, you're still okay, right? And it won't hurt you as much if ever the worst outcome does happen.
All right, one last thing, Jared. I mean, obviously, Plus is a great company, but then there's a dilemma actually. Because normally, if you invest in a stock, you want it to do well, right? You want Plus to do well. Ang mangyayari is dapat more people gamble eh. So parang alam mo, may ethical dilemma. Like, I
True.
want my stock to go up, but I don't like more people gambling.
Yes.
What do I do now? Like, do I still invest in Plus or how do I go about it?
For me, I think of it this way. So, if restrictions do get implemented, the minimum top up is proposed to be initial deposit would be 10,000 pesos with the succeeding top ups to be minimum of 5,000 pesos. So, when you set the bar that high, you're basically killing off the lower income mass market, right? Or the ones na talaga desperate. That's why they're going into online gambling. So, once you do that, you're left with the gamblers that have enough buying power or enough funds to gamble as a form of leisure and not because they're desperate for cash, right? So for me, that's how I view it. Instead of betting that there has to be more gamblers, I think it's more of the quality of the user base, right? If talaga they have enough disposable income for it and they can do it for leisure.
What you're saying is very important here is to find the right balance.
Yes.
Like to approach it in a lens of having proper regulations in place. Because I believe, Jared, in Singapore, the way they do it is like for local citizens, they have to pay $100 just for them to gamble, right? So parang basically they're limiting locals, tapos making foreigners much more okay kapag sa gambling. Or basically they're doing really well when it comes to their regulations. So I hope it's finding the sweet spot here as well locally.
Yes.
Okay, so Jared, moving on to another hot topic right now. So actually, speaking of Globe and PLDT, we like them so much to the point now we've been liking them for a very long time now. It's kind of to the point now it's kind of worrying me actually eh. Kasi we like them to buy it low, but then keeps on getting lower and lower. So is there any catalyst that's affecting PLDT and Globe? Why is this the case?
Yes. So the catalyst that's really dragging the telcos down is the Konektadong Pinoy Bill. The Konektadong Pinoy Bill basically states that smaller internet service providers can operate data transmission services without needing a congressional franchise. And the big drag on PLDT and Globe is that they would have to share their infrastructure, like their poles and towers, to the smaller internet service providers, right? So parang may nakiki-share sa infrastructure nila. And that will add competition in the internet services space. So they will basically engage in a price war, which would drag down internet costs because I think internet costs is very expensive in the region, one of the most expensive in Asia, I believe, right? So the estimate is that internet cost would drop by around 20 to 50%. So that's really dragging down the sentiment on Globe and PLDT.
And the reason why we've been liking PLDT and Globe so much than before was because of their duopoly status, di ba?
Yes.
But now that you're removing that away, tapos sabi mo nga, there's going to be a price war that might happen pa because
Yes.
they're going to undercut each other, right? They want to get more market share, so they would lower down their prices, which will hurt the bottom line or the earnings of both PLDT and Globe. But actually, Jared, one of the few stocks that I've been noticing, Converge has been doing really well. Eh. I mean, Converge is also an internet player.
Yes.
Pero its performance is actually holding steady at 18. Eh. It's not going down unlike Globe and PLDT. Why
Yes.
is this the case?
So Converge is largely insulated because it's a pure fiber player in the first place. So unlike Globe and PLDT, they're legacy, right? They're the ones who have to share their infrastructure to the smaller internet players. Unlike Converge, it's already pure fiber from the start, so it skips all that, right? And in fact, Converge can even access the infrastructure of Globe and PLDT, which is an added advantage pa to them. So I feel that Converge is the winner here.
And actually, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Converge is also venturing out, like expanding more yet. They're actually looking into data centers as well and like a cloud service provider, right?
So Converge is really transitioning not just a fiber company, right? It's also transitioning into basically a technology company. And that's like a first in the Philippines.
Yes. Actually, Jared, ang dami natin na pag-usapan today, right? I mean, we've talked a lot about the news, what's happening out there. But for you personally, what are the stocks that you are eyeing na tingin mo pwede nang bilhin at current prices?
Okay, so for dividend stocks, I have two on my watch list. So the first is actually RFM Corporation. So if you don't know RFM, they manufacture Fiesta spaghetti, so the pasta and also the spaghetti sauce. And they also offer Selecta ice cream, right? It's basically a consumer goods company, and I like it because our family buys their spaghetti. For me, it's the best spaghetti in the market that I've tried.
But aside from the product, what about like RFM do you like as well?
So the earnings are growing, right? They're growing double digit since last year. Dividends have been sustainable, although this year, parang for the first two quarters, I think, the dividends were slightly lower than last year, even if earnings are increasing. So it might be because the company is investing more back into the business, which I think is okay lang because it will help propel earnings growth rate in the coming years. At an 8.5% dividend yield right now, I think it's a safe buy.
I see. Is RFM the only thing in your watch list right now, or is there more?
There's one more, and it's SCC, Semirara Mining and Power Corporation. So I think a lot of people have been saying that SCC is a bit delicado, right, or dangerous because of falling coal prices, and it shows rin sa dividends and earnings which have been declining. But for me, I think that coal prices have basically normalized ever since it rallied hard because of the Russia-Ukraine war back then. So now that it has normalized, I feel that it's basically you're back to zero, right? And given that SEC is opening a new mine next year, the Acacia mine, even if coal prices dip a bit, I feel that the added output from the Acacia mine will help offset that decline in the commodity price.
But for SEC, would you agree with me that this is more of a dividend yield play, right? More than the dividend growth play?
For me, yes, it's a dividend yield play until coal prices stabilize, right? If coal prices start to trend higher a bit, or if production from the Acacia mine or its existing mines ramp up, then I can see dividend growth happening. But for now to next year, for me, it's just a dividend yield play. But I think growth will come in the coming years.
All right. Thank you for that. Are those all of the stocks that you're eyeing right now?
Yes, that's
Dividend
all.
stocks.
Plus the Maynilad, which I mentioned earlier, waiting for the IPO.
Yes. So, Jared, before we end this podcast, any last words to our audience? What's your takeaway with today's episode?
So my advice for you is stay invested, right? So it's very tempting to sell your stocks during market downturns, but remember, if you're invested in high quality dividend growth stocks, they will be insulated and they will rise back once earnings picks up, right? Once dividends reach a point where the yield is very attractive, right? Basically, for you to maximize your gains, you have to hold on and compound that money. And it's hard to compound the money when you're going in and out of the market. So it pays to have a core position that you can leverage on.
Especially if our time horizon here is very far into the future,
Yes,
right?
like 20 years, 10 years for retirement.
Yes. So actually, thank you for today, Jared. I hope our audience obviously loves your insights, right? And so I would like to thank our audience for listening also today. So remember to hit the subscribe button or follow us on our socials to learn more and if you want more podcasts like this. Thank you, everyone, and see you on to the next episode.
Thank you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.